Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Jurassic World Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, this is the newest figure in the Hammond Collection line, and this is supposed to be Mattel's definitive T-Rex figure. This is supposed to be the T-Rex figure to end all T-Rex figures. So, does it fit that title? Well, let's find out. Of course, to start this review, we'll take a look at the paint. And the painting on this figure is very nice, so let's take a closer look at that. So, right off the bat, as you can see, most of this figure is a nice brown color, which I think looks very nice. And of course, like, on the side of the body here, we have a lot of, weathering. And even on, the end of the tail here, we have, some specks, which I think really, adds to this figure. It adds a lot of character. Unfortunately, on mine, there's a little bit of, a mishap. There's a little bit, too much of, a dark, what am I trying to say? Dark paint apps here. I think there's a little bit of a mishap here, which a little unfortunate, but honestly, it's not the end of the world. And another thing I want to point out, the stripes here. Here in particular, they're off from the rest of the figure. But again, these are very minor issues and don't affect the figure whatsoever for me, as far as the paint apps go. But yeah, of course, on the front of the legs here, we have a nice, this nice black airbrushing going to the feet right here, so that's really nice. Of course, we have the iconic T-Rex stripes that go from the back of the head here all the way to the end of the tail here, and it's really nice to see that here because in a lot of Mattel, Jurassic World figures, you don't get that. They usually stop here or something like that, but they kept going, and this looks really nice, so I like that. Of course, the underside here, we have a nice tannish color from the bottom of the mouth here all the way to the end of the tail, which again is always nice to see. Now, going to the head here, again, we have a lot more of a lot of really nice browns and blacks and whatnot, and the airbrushing here is really nice. And even we also have some black spots, which just really adds to this figure. And even some dry brushing here on the crests. So yeah, that's really cool. Another thing to point out that's really cool on this figure is the fact that this figure actually doesn't have traditionally painted eyes. This figure actually has glass eyes, which is really cool to see. We actually haven't seen this gimmick on a Jurassic Park figure since the Bull T-Rex from the Lost World. So again, it's really cool to see that here. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's just mine, but the eyes here seem to be a slit, the pupils. You can't I don't know if you can see it or not, but it looks more like a raptor's eye because of course in Jurassic Park we know that the T-Rex had more round pupils and not so much the slit. Actually, you can see it sorry, this is a big figure, or a long figure I should say. You can see that better on this side here. Yeah, there's a slit there for the pupil when it should be round. Again, that's very minor and not the end of the world whatsoever, but still, it's something that I think is worth pointing out. But anyway, opening up the mouth here, we can see that the inside of the mouth here is a nice pink color, all the membranes and everything like that, painted nicely. The tongue, I think, is a little off, but still, not the end of the world whatsoever. So there's that. And lastly, the toenails are painted black, and they even painted the dew claws, which, again, you don't really see that in a lot of dinosaur figures nowadays. They just kind of leave that, so, again, it's really cool that they kept the, or they actually painted the dew claws here, so that's really cool. And, of course, the fingernails are painted, which, again, really nice to see. We don't see that in a lot of Jurassic Park T-Rex figures. Even, Kenner had an issue with, not painting the T-Rex's fingernails, so, again, that's just, really cool to see. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. And there are some very minor things I would have done differently. But honestly, the issues I have with the painting, those are honestly nitpicks because the rest of the painting here is absolutely phenomenal. So the painting on this figure definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the articulation. And the articulation on this figure is very nice. So let's take a closer look. So right off the bat, on the head, there is a, it's really cool. It's actually a ratchet joint for the jaws here. So we have 1, 2, which I think is really cool. I get it for like stop motion. If you're gonna do like stop motion, I can see how that could be like kind of tedious, because you'd have to like somehow have it like hold it like in place like that. So I can see how that'd be frustrating, but I think it's pretty cool. I also think it's really cool how like the membranes here are like made of rubber. So like when the mouth closes, you can kind of like see them close in. And that's actually something you can see on the animatronic like in the movie. So yeah, I think it's really cool. But anyway, the tongue is also on a hinge joint here. So that's it for the head. The base of the head here is on a ball joint, and the base of the neck is also on a ball joint, but for some reason it's made out of like a rubbery material. So like it can be a little like hard to move it around, but it's not the hardest thing in the world by any means, but it can be a little annoying to try to move the head. So do be careful of that. Of course, the arms here can move 360. And they can move outwards and inwards like so. We have a bend at the elbow here, and that's also a swivel. And we also have a bend and swivel at the hands. At the center of the torso here, we have a ball joint, but it makes a really like squeaky sound that I'm not a big fan of whatsoever, but yeah, it is what it is. The legs here can move. Actually, the legs can do a 360. Though they kind of stop. Like, I hate, like, you have to, like, it just kind of, like, it snaps in place there. And it's like, I would have preferred to, like, just have a regular swivel here. But, again, not the end of the world. We have a double bend in the knees here. This joint here is also a swivel / hinge joint. And same with the ankles here. So that's that. The tail is on a ball joint here. And there's another ball joint here, but after this, the rest of the tail is just a bendy wire, which I think is unfortunate. I think a segmented tail would have been really nice to see on this figure, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, the bendy wire does feel sturdy, but just be careful when you're like moving this around. It's also not very flexible, so yeah, there's definitely a bendy wire in there, but don't expect a whole lot of motion out of that. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. And just like with the painting, there are some very minor things I would have done differently. But overall, I think the articulation here is very nice. So the articulation on this figure definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the sculpt, and sculpting on this figure, honestly, the only issue I have with the sculpting here is that the feet are a little too big, but even then, that's kind of a nitpick, because overall, the sculpting on this figure is absolutely perfect. Like, I'm at a loss for words. It's genuinely, like, really good. The head sculpt is perfect, literally one-to-one, or not one-to-one, but this captures the likeness of the Jurassic Park T-Rex very well. It is absolutely beautiful. The proportions on this figure look pretty much perfect. I think the head sculpt, or the head size, I should say. I think the head size is perfect. I think the neck length is perfect. I think the legs, are perfect. I think a lot of Jurassic World T-Rex figures now that I've reviewed in the past, I feel like the legs on those figures are a little too short. Whereas this guy, I feel like the legs are a perfect length. They are perfect, and yeah, the sculpting on this figure is just perfect. And good God, look at that tail. Like, one of my biggest issues with a lot of Jurassic World figures nowadays is that I feel like the dinosaurs have, like, tails that are way too short. But this guy, the tail length, I think is perfect. So, yeah, the proportions are perfect, the head sculpt is perfect, the tail length is perfect. Overall, the sculpting on this figure is literally perfect. So, yeah, the sculpting on this figure definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the detailing on this figure, and just like with the sculpting, the detailing on this figure is pretty much perfect. So let's take a closer look at that. So starting off with the head here, we can see all of the scales and all the little bumps and everything like that, detailed very beautifully, very well defined. And the inside of the mouth here, again, like all the detailing like on the membranes here and like the roof of the mouth and the tongue and everything like that, the detailing here just looks very solid. And even the teeth have a little bit of detailing in there as well, so I think that's really cool. Going to the neck here, again, we have a lot of really nice musculature here, and a lot of nice wrinkles and like scales and everything like that. And again, the detailing on this figure is just gorgeous. The side of the body, again, we just have a lot of really nice musculature, and all like the creases and wrinkles just perfectly look perfect on this figure. And even on the arms here, again, the detailing is just great. All the wrinkles and so on, just so good. You know, going to the leg here, the side of the leg here, again, a lot of great musculature here. And the calves here especially detailed very nicely. Just a lot of like really nice detailing here. So all of like the wrinkles and musculature and like even the scales like on the feet here. Like I said, the detailing is, I can't stress this enough. The detailing on this figure is just great. Going to the tail here, again, we have a lot of like really nice musculature on the top here. And again, just a lot of nice scaling. There is a noticeable seam here, which is a little unfortunate, but not the end of the world. And again, this detailing just continues all the way to the end of the tail here, which just looks phenomenal. And the underside of the figure, again, we have this really nice crocodilian sort of like scaling here, which I think looks really nice. And it's something we don't really see in a lot of like Jurassic World T-Rexes nowadays, but the original like T-Rex design in like the movies did have this, so it is really cool to see this here. And of course, underneath the feet here, we do have the new Jurassic World logo. So, yeah. And honestly, that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And the detailing here, like I said, is pretty much perfect. I mean, yeah, the tail here, there's like a noticeable seam, but like not the end of the world at all, because the rest of the detailing here is, like I said, pretty much perfect. So, yeah, the detailing here is perfect. So the detailing definitely gets a pass. Now we'll do some size comparisons, and like I said in this video, this is a very like big and very long figure, as I pointed out. So here we have the Jurassic World Dominion Thrash and Devour Tyrannosaurus Rex. Here we have the Jurassic World Legacy Collection Extreme Chomping Tyrannosaurus Rex. Of course, we have to bring up this figure. Here we have the original Jurassic Park Kenner Red Rex, and I gotta be honest with you, this new Hammond Collection T-Rex is actually better than this Kenner T-Rex. Now, I love the Red Rex. It will always be my favorite Jurassic Park figure of all time. I absolutely love it to death. But this new Hammond Collection T-Rex, the paint apps are better. The sculpting is better. It's more movie accurate. Even though the original figure, like this original T-Rex, was based off of the Stan Winston maquette, this new T-Rex just looks much more accurate. The articulation, there's a lot more of that than on the Red Rex. And something I said in my review for the Lost World Stegosaurus is that, like, a lot of Mattel figures, I feel like, focus more on having, like, a lot more joints than them having, like, nice paint apps. But, yeah, not only does this guy have, like, a lot of articulation, but the paint apps here are also really nice and better than the Red Rex. And, yeah, I'm sorry. Like I said, I will always love the Red Rex, but I gotta be honest, this new Hammond Collection T-Rex is just better. I don't know what to say. I feel dirty for saying that. I can't believe I said that. For the first time, I can say that a Mattel figure is better than a Kenner figure. You know, I feel dirty for saying that, but it's just kind of like, this new Hammond Collection T-Rex figure is very nice. And of course, here this figure is with some hand sanitizer and Dr. Billy Grant. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the Hammond Collection Ian Malcolm anymore, but those two are pretty much the same, or the Hammond Collection Ian Malcolm is pretty much the same size as Dr. Billy Grant here, so I think this should give you, like, a good idea of how the Hammond Collection human figures will scale with this figure, and yeah, the scaling here works perfectly. So at the end of the day, should you get this figure? There are some minor things I would have done differently. I would have made the pupils more round instead of having them like slits. There are some paint defects on the side of the body on mine. The feet, I think, are a little too big, and just very minor stuff like that. But honestly, I'm genuinely trying to stretch for issues I have with this figure because this thing is absolutely amazing and I love it to death. In fact, you heard me earlier. I said that this figure is better than the original Red Rex. Like, that was like the definitive Jurassic Park T-Rex figure for a while. You know, I mean, yeah, you know, like Mattel came out with the Thrash and Throw or whatever, but like, that was like the T-Rex, in my humble opinion. But then you have this figure, which just improves on that in so many levels. There's like more points of articulation. There's more, it's more movie accurate. There's more, like, the paint apps are better. And overall, this thing is just amazing. You know, for someone like, if you're a T-Rex fanboy like me, and this figure is a must-have, and I can't recommend this figure enough. It's beautiful. I absolutely love this figure to death. I'll still always love the Red Rex. It'll still always be my favorite figure of all time. But this guy is still fantastic. It's just, I'm at a loss for words. This figure is absolutely amazing. But it is a little frustrating that we're only just now getting this figure. If we got this figure like day one, when Mattel started making Jurassic World figures, that would have been beautiful. You know, like, I get it. Like, you know, these like high quality figures, like, they're hard to produce. So it makes sense for Mattel to, like, you know, pump out like things that don't look as nice. Like, they still look nice, but compared to this blows like every T-Rex figure out of the water, both by Mattel and Kenner, believe it or not. I still can't believe I'm saying that, but here we are. So, yeah. But we do finally have this figure, and yeah, this thing is absolutely fantastic, and like I said, I can't recommend this figure enough. It is phenomenal. Now, price tags. This figure retails for $50, which I think is a little high. I think $40 would have been a little more understandable, but honestly, the $50, it's not bad. You know, 40 would be better, but 50 isn't really a bad price tag either. So, yeah, definitely got this figure, especially if you're a T-Rex fanboy like me. I know I've said this so many times, but this figure is just, I can't stress this enough. This figure is absolutely phenomenal, and it's just so good. I'm sorry, but yeah, definitely get this figure if you can, and yeah, that's it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.